current game I am DMing is an extended homebrew version of the Lost Mine of Phandelver. In the most recent session, my players have come across an unknown mysterious traveler whilst on their quest to repair the Forge of Spells. This traveler presented himself as a skilled illusionist, but the players would realize at the end of that same session that he was in fact a powerful archfey. The session was a one-shot within the campaign, where the archfey would use his powerful illusions to create a magical game show for the player characters. After playing various games such as Potion Beer Pong, Pin the Tail on the Dragon, Spell Scroll Bingo, and many more, the archfey lifted the illusions and rewarded the characters with a random magic item each from the Dungeon Master's Guide. As per normal, I had all the players roll to determine what magic item they would receive. The Satyr Bard received a set of magical +1 crossbow bolts, the Warforged Fighter received a potion of greater healing and a potion of fire breath, the Half-Dragon Druid received a potion of radiant resistance, and the Tiefling Warlock received an elixir of health. Do you think these were great rewards? No? Well, guess what? Neither did we. My players absolutely loved the session, but their joy immediately changed to disappointment after hearing what they pulled out from the magic sack, which just isn't how a good session should end. Players should feel excited to try out their new magic items, instead of just tossing them into the party's bag of holding and probably forgetting about them for most of the campaign. Now don't get me wrong, potions are useful, and more often than not, when you're in a pinch, they really do come in handy, especially if you have creative players, which I do. However, when you're fighting a dragon and looting its treasure hoard, or you're given a gift by a creature as powerful as an archfey or an archdevil, a potion isn't really what you had in mind. You would think more along the lines of enchanted armor or weapons, or a wondrous item like a headband or protective bracers that allow you to shoot fire or protect you from psychic blasts, or just something. Not satisfied with this outcome, I immediately started doing some research on what magic items I should gift my players, instead of the generic stuff they could buy in a mage's shop. I was reading through the various items when something caught my attention. Pixie Dust, a magic item from the Wild Beyond the Witchlight book. This dust isn't too special, but it does give you a one-time flying speed of 30 feet for 1 hour, a la Peter Pan and Tinkerbell. What caught my real attention, though, was that this was an item that you could most likely only get from a pixie themselves, most likely as a fey gift of sorts. The gears in my mind started turning, and I wondered what other type of fey gifts a character could receive from other types of fey. So I did some research on what fey monsters we currently have in 5th edition, and what their abilities are. And I was both surprised and excited at the variety of options. And now I'm going to share with you these 12 fey-themed magic items that you can give your players if they suck up to the right fey monster. The Kilmulus is a tiny-sized fey creature that has the ability to provide a minor blessing to anyone that treats it well, or a minor curse if mistreated. The blessing allows up to 8 creatures to regain all of their hit dice on a long rest, as well as 10 temporary hit points. Alternatively, the curse causes the targets to not regain any hit dice upon completing a long rest. Both of these are small useful abilities. The blessing one in particular is easy enough to convert straight into a magic item. Kilmulus Apple. Wondrous item. Uncommon rarity. This large red apple has a very slight golden shade to its coloring and has an unnaturally sweet but delicious taste. As an action, you can eat this apple and regain all spent hit dice and 10 temporary hit points. The big change here is that a player character can gain the benefits as an action rather than needing to complete a long rest, which I think is fine and much more versatile without breaking the game. If you think about it, this apple is almost like a potion of healing in a way, and the extra hit dice will be useful on a short rest if the character lost a lot of hit points, but already spent most, if not all, their hit dice on a previous short rest. Moving on, we have the Boggle, a small-sized fae that's not too appealing to look at, but it has its merits. It's a mischievous little troublemaker that likes to play pranks on people. It has two notable abilities: Dimensional Rift, which allows the Boggle to create a sort of invisible wormhole between two frames, such as an open window or a door frame, to teleport between them, and Boggle Oil, a substance that the Boggle can excrete at will. The oil is what I'm after, and to show you how useful this stuff is, I'm just going to show you the magic item. Boggle Oil, Potion, Rare Rarity. This flask contains a runny black oil. As an action, you can pour the contents of this flask onto yourself or the ground. When you pour the flask, you choose either the slippery or sticky property. The oil covers a 5-foot square if poured onto the ground and turns it into difficult terrain. The oil dries up after 1 hour and is non-flammable. Slippery Oil. While coated in slippery oil, you gain advantage on dexterity acrobatics checks made to escape bonds, squeeze through narrow spaces, and end grapples. If poured onto the ground, any creature that enters the puddle's area or starts its turn there must succeed on a DC 11 dexterity saving throw or fall prone. Sticky Oil. While coated in sticky oil, you gain advantage on strength athletics checks made to grapple and any ability check made to maintain a hold on another creature, a surface, or an object. You can also climb difficult surfaces, including upside down on ceilings, without needing to make an ability check, almost like a lesser version of spider climb. If poured onto the ground, any creature that enters the puddle's area or starts a turn there must succeed on a DC 11 strength saving throw or be restrained. On its turn, a creature can use an action to try to extricate itself from the sticky puddle, ending the effect and moving into the nearest safe unoccupied space with a successful DC 11 strength check. Wow, what an amazing ability, and now bottled for your use. This oil makes a Boggle, or anyone that uses the magic item, damn hard to pin down or catch, for the lower levels at least. I really don't think I need to go over what this stuff can be used for, as the description pretty much explains by itself. I know in my mind immediately thought of a few uses for it, so I'm heading on to the next Fae item. The Briganock is another tiny-sized Fae that is really skilled miner and tunneler. Looking at them, this is kind of what I think of when referring to kobolds from older folklore, as opposed to our short scaly boys. Interestingly, their souls are outside of their bodies, manifesting as orbs of pale light. They also have a minor time manipulation ability that lets them complete up to 1 hour of work within a few seconds. Chronomancy is a very rare ability that very few creatures in D&D actually have, so it always catches my attention when it comes up. What I'm interested in, though, is its natural tunneling prowess. Even without their time manipulation, they can tunnel through a 6-inch diameter hole through 5 feet of solid rock, no action or bonus action required. The Briganock Pickaxe, wondrous item, uncommon rarity. The head of this magical pickaxe seems to glint like glitter. As an action, you can use this magical pickaxe to burrow through earth and loose stone at half your walking speed. Alternatively, you can burrow through 5 feet of solid rock in 1 minute. If you use this second property, roll a d20 whenever you finish burrowing through the stone, and if you roll a 1, the pickaxe breaks and loses its magical properties. This item is imbued with the magical essence of a Briganock to dig skillfully through the earth. This item is probably not going to be super useful in combat, as it does require an action to use, but then again, so does most magic items. Although I do see the potential here to set up an ambush for enemies. You can also use this to potentially escape an encounter, as not many creatures can actually dig that fast. Now you might be thinking, is the second property where it breaks on a d20 roll of 1 really necessary? Meh, probably not. You could honestly remove this detriment and have the pickaxe require an attunement instead. I personally liked this as not all magic items are indestructible tools. Some can break from misuse, and I think it also adds a roleplay element where you have to be careful with your gift lest your abuse causes it to break and potentially earning you the ire of the Fae who gifted it to you in the first place. Next is the Blink Dog, a medium-sized Fae canine that are trained by Seelie Fae to hunt down evil monsters. By the way, the Seelie Fae are the faction of good-aligned or neutral-aligned Fae that are more inclined to help mortals, whilst the Unseelie are the evil or at least neutral-aligned Fae that believe that even helping a mortal is detrimental to all Fae. Anywho, the Blink Dog possesses the ability to teleport short distances, using it for hit-and-run tactics. Blink Dog Fur. Wondrous item, uncommon rarity. A tuft of fur from some sort of dog, tied together at one end by a silvery string. Once per day, whilst you are holding this tuft of dog fur, you can use a bonus action to magically teleport, along with any equipment you are wearing or carrying, up to 40 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. This item functions as a once per day casting of the Misty Step spell with an additional 10 feet. I decided to have the item be a bonus action to use rather than an action, since the Blink Dog stat block indicates it can make one attack before or after teleporting as part of the same action. And that's pretty much it. Not too much to say, in all honesty. The item is simple and easy to use, but effective in its purpose. Mites are small-sized Fae creatures that delight in causing frustration and irritation, to the point of causing violent outbursts amongst their targets. It even says in their description that they make even the most coolest, most experienced adventurers prone to outbursts of destructive frustration. This is partially due to the mites' creatively irritating pranks that they play on others, but also because of their blood-boiling Hex ability, which functions similar to the Bane spell. For 1 minute, the target of this Hex must subtract a d6 from any ability check, attack roll, or saving throw they make, almost like anti-bardic inspiration. Interestingly, on any turn the target is affected by the Hex, it can choose to attack an ally as a reaction. Doing so causes the Hex creature to ignore the effects of the Hex for that attack until the end of their next turn. I interpret this as the Hex target venting out their frustration to temporarily relieve themselves of any irritation they have. Mite's Hex Charm. Wondrous item. Uncommon rarity. This small wooden charm resembles a palm-sized dream catcher made of sticks and tiny animal bones. As an action, you can place a Hex on a creature you can see within 60 feet for 1 minute. Using this item does not reveal your location. While the creature is affected by this Hex, whenever it makes an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, it must roll a d6 and subtract the number rolled from the d20 roll. If the affected attack roll, ability check, or saving throw fails, the target must attack the closest ally creature it can see as a reaction, ignoring the effect of the Hex when it does so. It can then ignore the effect of the Hex until the end of its next turn. This item crumbles to dust after the Hex is placed onto a creature. As I mentioned earlier, this item functions similar to a Bane spell where it subtracts from the target's d20 rolls, with the added effect of the target attacking the nearest ally as a reaction, if the d20 roll fails. It's a great way to start combat or as part of an ambush. Some might argue that an effect like this is too powerful as it does not require a saving throw, and it causes some infighting amongst enemies before combat has even started. I don't think so. There are more powerful spells that do all of these effects much better. Plus, this item is a one-time use consumable, so I think it's perfectly balanced. Also, the target will only attack their allies if it fails their d20 rolls, which is not a guarantee since the target could roll high on their d20 roll and low on their d6. I think this item is fine as is, and I've spent enough time talking about it, so moving on. Pixies are tiny-sized fey creatures we typically think about when we hear the word fairy. Pixies and sprites, for that matter, but we'll get to the sprites in a bit. Pixies are shy but excitable creatures that love to make friends and have fun with them. Despite their tiny and frail physique, they are quite powerful spellcasters, being able to cast spells such as Dispel Magic, Entangle, Phantasmal Force, and the ever-useful Polymorph spell, and many more. Pixie Dust. Wondrous item. Uncommon rarity. A small leather pouch containing a glittering yellow dust. As an action, you can sprinkle this dust on yourself or another creature you can see within 5 feet of you. The recipient gains a flying speed of 30 feet and the ability to hover for 1 hour. If the creature is airborne when this effect ends, it falls safely to the ground, taking no damage and landing on its feet. A small packet holds enough pixie dust for 1 use. As I mentioned before, this item is from the Wild Beyond the Witchlight book, so technically this is not a homebrew item of my creation, but... oh, hang on. It says here it lasts for 1 minute, not 1 hour. Why did I think it lasted for 1 hour? Oh, wait, I think I mixed this uncommon item with the very rare Potion of Flying. That does last for 1 hour. Let's see. When you drink this potion, you gain a flying speed equal to your walking speed for 1 hour. There we go. And can hover. If you're in the air when the potion wears off, you fall unless you have some other means of staying aloft. I guess the only real difference between these two items is the duration, and that the fly speed of the potion is dependent on your walking speed. Oh, I see here that the pixie dust lets you slowly drift to the ground, whereas the potion of flying just lets you fall, and you might as well hope for the best if you don't have another way of staying aloft. It's kind of odd that the pixie dust is such a safe item with such a minor effect, and its uncommon rarity, whereas the potion of flying is very rare. It gives you a flying speed equal to your walking speed, which is great if your walking speed is above 30 feet, but what if you're a gnome that only has a walking speed of 25 feet, or a halfling for that matter? Then your flying speed is 25 feet, and oh well, if you fall. I still think the pixie dust should be 1 hour or 10 minutes at least, as that's what the fly spell is, and the potion should be rare instead of very rare. As I said, the fly spell is a 3rd level concentration spell of 10 minutes, but it gives you a 60-foot fly speed, regardless of your size and speed. Whatever, I feel like I made my point, and you as the DM are always free to edit as you see fit. Here we have the sprite, the other fairy I mentioned earlier. Whilst pixies are happy, carefree little balls of joy and excitement, sprites are the serious, no-nonsense guardians of the forest. Sprites take their role of guardian very seriously, doing their best to not expose themselves to non-fey, and to try to mislead them out of the forest, or avoid them if the intruders prove particularly persistent. Sprites possess the unique ability to sense the emotions and alignment of any creature they touch, possibly also learning if the creature is a celestial, fiend, or undead, since those creatures automatically fail the saving throw for this ability. Sprite's Heart Charm. Wondrous item. Common rarity. This small wooden charm resembles a palm-sized dream catcher made of twigs and ferns. You touch a creature and magically know the creature's current emotional state. If the target fails a DC 10 Charisma saving throw, you also know the creature's alignment. Celestial, fiends, and undead automatically fail the saving throw. This item crumbles to dust after use. This item functions as an exact replica of the sprite's Heartsight ability, functioning similar to a Detect Evil and Good spell. I initially had it as an uncommon rarity item, but decided to make it common rarity instead of uncommon due to its low DC and its one use. The low DC does mean that there is a chance that it might not even work properly. Even at low levels, enemies have a chance to roll really well. Although, if it is a celestial fiend or undead, the creature does fail automatically, so this is an easy way to reveal these creatures if they're hiding themselves. The Darklings were a race of Fae that were cursed to absorb light whenever they came into contact with it, and absorbing too much would cause them to explode and release all the light they had absorbed. The same thing will happen if the Darkling is killed, by the way. This curse essentially forced them to live in utter darkness, which I can only imagine how torturous that must be, as they are also massive lovers of art. Elder Darkling's Shadow Charm. Wondrous item. Uncommon. This small wooden charm resembles a palm-sized dream catcher made of twigs, spider silk, and an unknown black material. As a reaction, you can cause magical light to flash out from it in a 10-foot radius. Any creature in that area must make a DC 11 Constitution saving throw. On a failure, the creature takes 2d6 radiant damage and, if the creature can see the light, is blinded until the end of its next turn. On a successful save, the creature takes half the damage and isn't blinded. This item burns to ash after use. This item is made by a Darkling Elder, a more powerful Darkling whose Death Flash not only blinds enemies, like a standard Darkling, but the Elder's light is so intense that it actually burns the target as well. I felt like the standard Darkling's Death Flash was too weak to justify as an uncommon item, and they aren't that powerful themselves. If you feel so inclined to have a standard Darkling version, just lower the DC to 10, remove the radiant damage, and make it a common item. But I don't feel like it's really necessary. The Elder's charm works fine as is. Satyrs are half-human, half-goat men originating from Greek mythology. They are a type of nature spirit representing the wild, untamed side of nature, and they are often depicted as aroused and attempting to woo nymphs, another type of Greek nature spirit. The satyr from the monster manual doesn't really have anything special going on. It's surprisingly only a CR 1/2 monster, its only outstanding feature being its magic resistance. Interestingly, there is a small side section for the satyr to possess a pair of magical panpipes that lets them inflict a few different conditions on their targets depending on what type of music they play. I am curious why this wasn't included in the base line satyr, as it would have made them much more of a threat. Satyr panpipes, wondrous item. Rare rarity. Requires attunement by a satyr. As an action, you can play the pipes and choose one of the following magical effects: a charming melody, a frightening strain, or a gentle lullaby. Any creature of your choice within 60 feet of you that can hear the pipes must succeed on a DC 13 Wisdom saving throw, or your own spellcasting DC, whichever is higher, or be affected as described below. Other satyrs and creatures that can't be charmed are unaffected. An affected creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. If a creature's saving throw is successful, or the effect ends for it, the creature is immune to the panpipes for the next 24 hours. Charming melody. The creature is charmed by the satyr for 1 minute. If the satyr or any of its companions harms the creature, the effect on it ends immediately. Frightening strain. The creature is frightened for 1 minute. Gentle lullaby. The creature falls asleep and is unconscious for 1 minute. The effect ends if the creature takes damage or if someone takes an action to shake the creature awake. This is pretty much taken exactly from the satyr section in the book, allowing a satyr character to play magical tunes on the pipe, as they should be able to. If you feel like a satyr is too specific of an attunement, you could instead say that it requires attunement by a bard, like many other magical instruments, or just someone who has proficiency in musical instruments. You could reflavor it as they were taught by the satyr who gave it to them and how to play these magical tunes, and this is why they are able to attune to it. Dryads are one type of nymph from Greek mythology, as mentioned before. They are associated with oak trees specifically, but the term dryad has come to include all trees in general as time went on. Despite being only a CR1 creature, dryads are reasonably powerful, being able to speak with beasts and plants, teleport between trees, a selection of druid spells such as Entangle and Barkskin, and their potent Fey Charm ability that can charm humanoids and beasts. Dryad's Wand, wondrous item, rare rarity. This wand resembles a twisting branch and is imbued with the magic of a dryad, containing several spells that can each be cast once per day. Spell save DC 14, plus 6 to hit with spell attacks. Once cast, the spell cannot be cast again until the next dawn. At will, Druidcraft and Shillelagh for 1d8 plus 4 damage. Once per day each, Barkskin, Entangle, Goodberry, and Pass Without a Trace. This item allows whoever wields it to cast several druid spells for free, as well as has access to the Druidcraft and Shillelagh cantrips, both good cantrips in their own right. If you are so inclined, you could have this item as a staff instead. That way the caster can actually use the Shillelagh cantrip on the staff they are holding. I think I like this more actually, so let's turn this item into a staff instead. Redcaps are small-sized fae that resemble angry middle-aged gnomes. They are born whenever a creature is violently slaughtered near an area with strong fae influence. The Redcaps' most distinguishing features are their nasty, violent temperaments, their appropriately named red caps, their large sharp sickles, and their boots that are completely made of iron. They use these iron boots to violently kick their targets prone with surprisingly formidable strength, and I'm talking ogre levels of strength. Redcap's Iron Boots, wondrous item, rare rarity. Whilst wearing these boots, you have disadvantage on dexterity stealth checks whilst moving. As an action, you move up to your speed towards a creature you can see and kick it with the iron boots. The target must succeed in a DC 14 dexterity saving throw or take 3d10 plus your strength modifier, bludgeoning damage, and be knocked prone. This item mimics the Redcap's Ironbound Pursuit action, allowing the user to dash and potentially force the target prone on a failed dex save. This item is the one I was kind of on the fence whether I should copy the ability word for word, or if I should nerf it a bit, as 3d10 damage is quite a lot, and the possibility of knocking the target prone and letting your allies wail on it with melee attacks made with advantage. But I might also be overthinking it, as the user must use their full action to use the boots, so no extra attack. Plus, there's also the disadvantage on stealth checks whilst moving, which functions similar to certain types of armor. Plus, there's also the chance that the creature will succeed on the save and bypass both the damage and the prone condition anyway. Let me know in the comments if this needs an edit and what should be changed if so. Chorids are small-sized, hairy, but stone-skinned fae creatures with an affinity for the earth element. Chorids become magically strong when in contact with the ground, are able to cast spells such as Stone Shape, Meld into Stone, and Conjure Earth Elemental, letting them summon a variety of different earth elementals. Their most interesting feature is their magical hair that they grow to very long lengths. The hair, when cut, becomes whatever material the item was that was used to cut it. So when cut with iron shears, the hair becomes a rope made of iron strands. And the Chorid can magically animate and control one of these ropes as a bonus action. Chorid's Steel Rope, wondrous item, rare rarity. Whilst holding one end of the steel rope, you can command the rope as an action to move up to 20 feet and attempt to entangle a large or smaller creature you can see. The target must succeed on a DC 13 dexterity saving throw or become grappled by the rope. Escape DC 13. Until this grapple ends, the target is restrained. You can use a bonus action to release the target, which is also freed if you die or become incapacitated. A rope of corded hair has AC 20 and 20 hit points. If the rope loses all of its hit points, it is destroyed and loses all of its magical properties. Wow. If I have to be honest, I think this might be my favorite of all these items. Nothing screams fae or fairy tale like magical hair. Rope is one of the most useful items in D&D already, and a magical rope that you can command as a bonus action, and you really have something special. I also think that giving the rope the AC and the hit points, and therefore a chance to break, again fits in with the fickle nature of the fae and incentivizes you to take care of it. And there you have it. 12 fae-themed magic items you can use for your games. This video was quite a joy to make, and I'm eager to hear opinions. Please share in the comments if you have an idea of your own for a fae-themed magic item. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.